Alrighty. How are we doing today, chat? Appreciate everybody who stopped in for us here. Today we got some Lancelot locks for this weekend. As well as we'll get into some gaming here in about 30 minutes or so. Waiting for the squad to get on. Not sure what we're going to be running. Be straight up honest with you, might be some R6 in the future, but we'll see if we have a full squad. If not, we'll go back to the basics. We'll do a little Call of Duty, the finals. But appreciate everybody coming in again. And look, if you got any questions, if there's any plays you're looking at or anything like that, we appreciate hopping in here, Billy Hot Snakes. Be sure to fade or follow some of these locks we're about to go over. If you got any bets you're thinking about placing, share them in the chat. You know, we got a community here. We'll see if anybody else fades or follows, and we'll go from there. We can have a discussion, a little sports discussion on if we think the bet's worth it or not. But first thing we do want to get into, this is a play for tonight. NBA play, okay. We're gonna go Chet Holmgren. He's on the Thunder. Over 2.5 assists. I think that game is at what is it? Tonight at 9. But yeah, just a few notes. Look, he's covered that line in 4 straight games. You know, the Jazz, they allow the 6th most assists to the center position. 5 of the last 6 centers that have played the Jazz have hit that prop. And Chet is pretty solid on it as well. He's hit the prop in his last 10 games when he plays at least 30 minutes. So if he plays the full game, you know, that's why we call it a lock. So let's hope so. Only 1 unit on it. Don't go crazy here, people. The odds that I got it at were minus 155, so you're only gonna get, you know, 0.8 profit return on your unit there. But 1 unit, minus 155, Chet Holmgren, over 2.5 assists. And that's taking place tonight. Everything else is over this weekend, over Saturday and Sunday, over the divisional round. Alright, so let's get into some other ones. Probably favorite play for sure. It's definitely a Lancelot lock. Is Dalton Schultz, over 3.5 receptions. That's a tight end for the Texans. He's had 4+ receptions in 7 of his last 11 games. Baltimore's allowing 4+ receptions to tight ends in 6 of their last 7 games. Noah Brown is now on IR. He's out. I mean, does he do that much? No, but that could be one more catch going to Dalton Schultz, which is what it'll take to, you know, get over that 3 line. As well as the Texans are being 9.5-point road underdogs. So look, typically there's a reason Vegas is Vegas. Okay, they get it right most of the time. You know, that's not to say that Houston can't come out and just dominate this game. We saw how that went last week, but you know, normally when you are the underdog, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're trying to score points. So Texans, CJ Stroud, he's looked great. Probably going to be sitting there having to throw the ball a lot more. And I think Schultz is just that guy to get 4 catches. Then we'll start rolling into some parlays now. And look, I'm going to let you know, chat, I got a little crazy with the parlays. Okay, now they are they're safe parlays, but you know, I'll put it this way: you don't want to have a habit out of betting parlays, because that one leg will kill you. But the first lock that we'll jump into is a Tampa Bay same game parlay. These are both alternate lines. You can take them at their actual lines if you want to, but this is just a way that I hedge in a sense and just, you know, pause. Just make sure that I'm getting a winner here and don't lose out. So Baker Mayfield over 249.5 passing yards, and Mike Evans over 49.5 receiving yards. So if you parlay that together, you'll get basically plus odds. It'll only be, 115. But yeah, look, you put a unit down, you win a unit. A little bit more than a unit. So some stats on that. Uh, Baker's had at least 283 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. Detroit, they've allowed the 4th most passing yards, 268 to quarterbacks in the regular season. So right there alone, that should hit that line. Stafford, he had 367 yards last week. Once again, to go back to the Dalton Schultz thing, Tampa Bay is a 6.5 point road underdogs, so it could lead to a more pass heavy script. Look, Baker's been on fire, but I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't say I'm a little bit worried about like just one of those come back to reality moments. Look at Flacco. Like it happens so often. Media gets all in on somebody and then they just shit the bed. I could see that happening with Baker here, especially too because Baker's talking trash now. And look, I'm a Baker fan, okay, but Tampa was flying under the radar. Now they're talking shit. It just world's got a funny way of just kind of humbling people, and Baker seems to get humbled quite a bit. So that's the leg that worries me. But 250 passing yards in a game that you're losing in the NFL should be able to get. And then with Mike Evans over 50 receiving yards, Detroit's been struggling against lead receivers, and Mike Evans is clearly the lead receiver. They've given up at least 68 yards in 10 straight games. Detroit is also allowing the 4th most receiving yards per game to receivers that are aligned out wide, where Mike Evans exclusively plays. That big ass tall giraffe is way too big to be getting in the slot. But last week Mike Evans burned another one of my parlays, but he had 3 catches for 48 receiving yards on 7 targets, but he also dropped a 47-yard bomb touchdown. So he smashes that line if he catches this. He was 2 yards away from it on a bad game, so I think it's got a pretty good opportunity there of hitting. Then we'll work our way up to and chat. I'm trying to play a little music in the background, trying to make this official. So if it's a little loud, let me know in the chat. I'll turn it down, can turn it off. Just let me know. Let's jump into another one. Packers 49ers, same game parlay. So this is a 2-uniter, okay? So we do have a little bit more confidence there. The odds are 110, which basically, just like the last one, you're getting 2 units back, 2 units and some change. So these are a lot of alternate lines, okay? This one, the other one, I would say you could go ahead, the Tampa Bay one, and take them at their line. Billy Hot Snakes. That's clever. That's clever, Billy Hot Snakes. Josh Giddey under 16 line. Yeah, I think he's already hit that a couple times, but that's for the legal process to decide. So on to the next one. The Packers 49ers, same game parlay. But look, we love the interaction. We love the interaction, chat. We love to hear these. Jordan Love over 199.5 passing yards. Aaron Jones over 24.5 rushing yards. CMC over 49.5 rushing yards. George Kittle over 24.5 receiving yards. And then last leg is that 49ers money line. Love has been on fire lately, and Aaron Jones has to be a part of them to get anything going on offense. 25 rushing yards is fucking comical, but crazier things have happened. But look, at the end of the day, the only true worry in this one is Kittle. But I do think that this is a pretty big Kittle game. Kittle can just disappear sometimes. Great tight end, top 5, but the way San Francisco operates, they can just disappear. So it's pretty modest. I mean, all these guys should be able to hit those lines easily. But I wouldn't be surprised if one leg loses because of some stupid shit, like somebody gets injured or George Kittle doesn't get 25 receiving yards. So, look, we are listing it as a Lancelot lock, though. I'm confident in it. 2-unit play, 110 odds. We'll see what happens. You know, this is what it's about. You know, you gotta stick your neck out there every now and then. Um, then we'll move on to a Chiefs Bills same game parlay. Uh, so this one is this one's a Lancelot lock again. We've got about 6 total, including that NBA play, and I think we are on what? So we got this one and another one, and then we'll get into some lunch money bets. But Chiefs Bills same game parlay. So Stephon Diggs under 63.5 receiving yards. That is what this parlay is founded on. Is that play right there? I would take that individually. Also, I just like to sweeten things up a little bit. I think the line also moved a little bit. I don't know, but if you can, some books I think have like 65, 66, hammer it down. Um, it just feels right. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. But other than that, he's had 52 or fewer yards in 7 of his last games. It's been a disaster for Diggs. He had 4 catches for 24 receiving yards against Kansas City in Week 15. Snead, who's the cornerback for Kansas City, they've limited all lead wide receivers, including Tyreek, just last week. I mean, Tyreek had 62 yards. So they should be able to lock this man down. And KC's allowed the 4th fewest receiving yards per game to wide receivers in the regular season. So all the signs are there for a Diggs under game, on top of the fact that it just seems like it's a perfect boiling over point. Most likely. Hey, Ava. Appreciate you stopping in. Billy, so that's a hard one, dude. I mean, let's be honest here. It's kind of skewed because like Chiefs and Bills, whoever wins that game, that's not really an upset. So the only people that can get upset here are the 49ers and the Ravens, just because this is the only time in a very long time where, like, literally it's smarter to bet them to win than it is the field. And I think that that's saying something. There's a reason we reverted to, hey, it's always smarter to play the field than it is with favorites. And so now that we're back to, like, oh, the favorites are probably the ones that are going to win, makes me feel like we're about to get taught exactly why we lean on the field rather than the favorite. So, with that being said, dude, it's hard because I can make a case for both teams. I'll put it this way. The Packers, who are playing the 49ers, and the Texans, who are playing the Ravens, can both cause chaos because they're playing with house money. I know that that's been a term getting used a lot, but the thing is that, like, I heard a really good talk about it, the other day. Is like, to go back to your question, I'll say the Texans, okay? And this is why I say the Texans. I think the Texans can beat the Ravens. Lamar's been bad in playoff games. He could falter again here. It's reasonable. I think the 49ers, I just think, I don't know why Shanahan always seems to choke it away at some point, so he could choke it right here. I wouldn't be surprised, but I just would put my faith in Shanahan and just the weapons they have on offense. But yeah, if Brock Purdy comes out and has a 4-interception game like he's shown he could do, then they could as well. But all in all, I'd say the Texans, just because I think C.J. Stroud is so young right now, he doesn't know what he's involved in. And I think that is simple enough. I think everybody is. I think D'Amico Ryans, I think their whole team is just like, doesn't realize the special moment that they are in which is scary. Um, I saw a quote too the other day. It was like the best swordsman doesn't fear the second swordsman, he fears the worst swordsman, because you never know what the fuck they're gonna do. And that's kind of how this is. I feel like the Ravens aren't scared of anybody except for that team that just comes in unconventionally and is just like, Stroud just fucking chunking it up, playing backyard football. So I could see it being the Texans that cause the upset, just because I think that they're so young and Stroud is so naive to the moment that he's in. Because you see it all the time, these guys that like, I do want this to happen as an Indianapolis Colts fan, but like, the playoffs aren't guaranteed. And I think it's actually J.J. Watt. He was talking on it on the Pat McAfee show. Shout out. But they went to the playoffs like his first year, and they didn't get back there for another 9 years. And like, so that's kind of what I feel like is going on here, is where the Texans just don't realize how special of a moment they're in. It's hard to make the playoffs. It's hard to make the divisional round. So the fact that they're playing without fear, I could see them just getting on to the Ravens, who is a team that is feeling probably that pressure. But we appreciate the question. To jump back into the same game parlay for the Chiefs and Bills, we hit off of the Stephon Diggs under 63.5. James Cook, next leg is going to be James Cook over 24.5 rushing yards. To be honest, you could take James Cook on his. Well, Billy, we love the question, so keep them up. But with James Cook, over 25 yards is a joke. I think his line's set at 58.5. I'd do that. I'm just not putting that in a parlay. So if you want to play that individually, I don't think it's a bad bet at all. He's had 70 yards in 3 of his last 5 games. He's had 13 carries in each of those games, so he's getting the opportunities. Really, the only thing that gets taken from him is goal line work, which this isn't a touchdown prop. He had 10 carries for 58 rushing against Kansas City in Week 15 pretty recently. KC allowed 4.6 yards per carry to running backs in the regular season. So while we just talked about how good they are on the pass, they're not that good at the run. And that's typically what happens. The only concern would be if Kansas City jumps out on them. And then the Bills are playing from behind, and all those James Cook yards are receiving yards. But the way Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, has been cooking up, wordplay, James Cook, you got to imagine that he can get 25 yards. And then the other 2 legs of this parlay are Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, both over 199.5 passing yards. This would be one of those parlays where one of those doesn't hit. You know what I mean? You're like, how the fuck did that happen? But you'd think it's about as sure as it can get. But we'll see on that one. So that's a 1 unit bet. That's a Lancelot lock. The odds on that are 210. So you're getting a return profit of 2 units and some change. So yeah, that really wraps up our Lancelot lock parlays. I do have a teaser fever for you guys. I love teasers. Big fan of teasers. Even though I got burned on one last week, but we won't talk about that because we're talking about this week. I have an 8-point teaser. Okay. So I have the Texans spread, the Packers spread, the Buccaneers spread, and the Chiefs spread on an 8-point teaser. So it seems like none of this. This couldn't lose, but I thought that last week, and Cleveland lost by a zillion. But so the Texans, you get them at plus 17. Right now it's plus 9, so it goes back from plus 9 to plus 17. The Packers are plus 10. They're now at plus 18. The Bucks go from plus 6 to plus 14, and then the Chiefs go from plus 2.5 to 10.5. So you're getting double-digit points on every single team in the playoffs, which to me is just crazy, just because it's playoff football. It's funny I'm saying that, considering the fact that last week there was blowouts all across the board. But normally in playoff football, especially divisional round, you don't have blowouts. I mean, people are really trying out there. They're giving it their all. So, um, that's another Lancelot log. That's a 2 unit bet. The odds are 160. Uh, so you put 2 units on that, you'll get a return profit of about 3.2 units. Uh, Yep, those are some really good football numbers there too. 10, 17, absolutely. You know, those are top tier numbers. I know a lot of high profile athletes also that have worn 10 and 17 in their past. So definitely something to look out for. So that's another reason why we trust this. This is a Lancelot lock for that reason right there. Um, all right, now let's get into some gut bets, some helmet. We only got 4. There's not much. I didn't go too crazy. Um, trying to work my way into this new segment we're doing with the Lancelot locks, because sometimes, guys, I got too many bets in, okay? And nobody wants to come in here, give you a zillion bets for them all to lose, and you guys hate me. So we try to dumb it down a little bit, but I'll I don't know if I'm supposed to call it a tweet or an X post or whatever it is, but if there's any new plays before any of these games, I'll post there, so that you guys can make your own decision. But to get into some of these other ones, this is just a full playoff parlay, so this basically involves every game. Jared Goff to have over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes to have over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Ravens money line, 49ers money line. So just like I was explaining, where we're all idiots for choosing the favorites and not the field in this, I am going with the favorites. I'm a real big fan of betting these over 1.5 touchdowns. I love them. I mean, we lost like $500 last week because Joe Flacco couldn't throw one more touchdown. So they're pretty addicting, but in today's NFL, you think 2 touchdowns is automatic. It's not. So you do get decent odds there, and it seems like it does happen more. Goff is going to have to throw the ball. They're in a dome. Mahomes is Mahomes. I mean, he looks terrible, but he'll get the job done. Pacheco's not coming out here and rushing for 1,000. So I'm confident that when they get into the red zone, they want Mahomes ball in his hand. I think we see a bounce back from Kelsey. So I think I'm going to be shocked if both touchdowns are to Kelsey. And I think Jared Goff gets it. And then the Ravens and money line and the 49ers money line should be as automatic as it can be. But yeah, like I said, the industry is high on the Ravens and 49ers making it to the Super Bowl, so this is just a small way to kind of ride that wave. And if it pans out, it pans out all the way to the end. But yeah, so that's a 1 unit bet. It's just a gut bet, not a Lancelot lock. The odds are 296. So if you put up 1 unit, you should be expecting a return profit of around 2.9 units, so almost 3 units. And keep in mind, guys, when I'm talking about profit, I'm talking about strictly profit. I'm not talking about what you bet. So you will get the money that you bet back, but I'm not factoring that into the profit. And then this is the Hail Mary bet. Okay, it's tight end season. Okay, so it's a Dalton Schultz, George Kittle, Cade Otton, Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown parlay. All those guys have to score a touchdown. That is plus 11,291 odds. So if you put up half a unit, you have the ability to return 112 units. Okay? Will this hit? Probably not. And that's why it's a Hail Mary. But it's not just throwing darts. Okay? We just talked about Dalton Schultz taking his over receptions. I think Schultz is going to have a good game. We talked about George Kittle. I think this is a Kittle game. I just wouldn't be surprised if he shits the bed. But I do think that this is a Kittle game that he gets going. Cade Otton got targeted like a zillion times last week. Half of that was because Philly was like, Cade Otton's going to have to beat us. Don't know if Detroit's going to keep that same philosophy. But if they do, Cade Otton might be there. And then lastly, Dalton Kincaid is really heating up with Josh Allen and could easily see a touchdown there. So, once again, that's a half unit bet to just really rake it in. But just be careful with that one. Billy Hot Snakes, which teams are you hoping play each other in the Super Bowl? Ah. I mean, it's hard to. I'd like to see the Bills, okay? I'd like to see Josh Allen get this monkey off his back. I'd like to see Josh Allen do something for the city of Buffalo I mean, Buffalo's going through hell. Could you imagine going to 4 Super Bowls and not winning one in a row? Like, this isn't over the span of 30 years. This is like, we just talked about how hard it was to get to the playoffs. You got to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row, and you didn't win one. I mean, from a fandom standpoint, I don't know how I would have held it together. So I'd like to see Josh Allen there. I'd like to see him get over that hurdle of beating, Mahomes. I know Burrow's not in the playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But then getting over that hurdle of the Ravens, I don't mind the Ravens. I have nothing against the Ravens. I've seen them enough in the Super Bowl in my lifetime. It just is what it is. I would like to see Lamar get one as well, just so he could kind of hold that title. On the NFC side, I don't really want to see the Chiefs. I want to be upset. It's not like I hate the Chiefs. Lions versus Bills would be fire. The only reason I don't say Lions, though, is because Jared Goff is not... He's so hit or miss. Like, Jared Goff can be electric. He can be one of those guys that you're watching and you're like, holy shit, this dude's good. And he can also be fucking terrible. And so, like, if we just got to a Super Bowl and it was Josh Allen versus Jared Goff and Jared Goff just shit the bed, it'd be frustrating. So, with that, I mean, I wouldn't want to see Tampa there. I mean, I guess that's really... I don't have anything against the 49ers either. I mean, it'd be fun to see Green Bay because that's just a crazy story, if you could imagine that. Like, if Jordan Love can get to a Super Bowl and then you just have that hierarchy of Favre, Rodgers, Love, that would be a pretty cool kind of deal, as well as the just complete underdog vibe that Jordan Love has. So, I think the best matchup for the Super Bowl, though, would be Bills 49ers. I just think that would be something to see. I also think Ravens 49ers would be really good too. I could just see it just being one of those Super Bowls you just never remember. But yeah, so we'll see. Look, I'm sure I'll feel a little different way next week. Watch these teams play, see if there's any more storylines or anything like that come together. But yeah, to wrap this thing up, also, because we're gonna go through these last 2 bets and then take a quick be right back chat, and then we'll get into some gaming. But got some UFC curveball for you guys. Okay. Duplessis. All right. Right now he's at like plus 155 money line. This fight's happening this weekend, by the way. I like the idea of going Duplessis to win by decision, so it's a split bet. I put half a unit on Duplessis to win by decision and half a unit on Duplessis to win by submission. So by decision is plus 650 odds and by submission is plus 700 odds. I just think Sean Strickland is just one of those guys that, it's nothing against him. It's just there's people in the UFC world that have roles of just like, you're just a filler until the next true champion comes around. And I just feel like that's Sean Strickland. Duplessis is 20-2 record overall with 10 submissions. Half of his fights end in a submission. Granted, the other half ended knockouts, which we did not take. Um, but I think Strickland's got a draw on him. I think that this is going to be one of those things where both these guys don't really have a little, too much championship pedigree. I think that they are going to work their way up into the fight. I don't think it's coming out guns blazing, stuff like that. I think both these guys know how to talk shit. I think both these guys know how to fucking take a lick, which makes me just think that, yeah, there's going to be some big throws, but nobody's getting their ass knocked out. Now, that's why you should never bet on the UFC, because one punch can change everything, but we are degenerates, so we're going to do that. But yeah, I just see, because look, you're getting basically three unit return or 3.5. So, if he wins by decision or submission, you're basically coming out on top with 2.5, 3 units. And yeah, it's just a gut bet. There's no science behind this. This is just me doing my own research and hoping for the best. But I would want to take Duplessis' money line, but it's only 155, and that to me is where like you lose me a sense, is because it's like the fact that everything can change in one punch. It's like I want to win a lot of money off of one punch or one submission or it going the distance into a decision. I don't want to just be mid-tier because I think a guy's going to win and then he gets his ass knocked out. So risk has got to be worth it. Got to risk it to get the biscuit. Billy Hot Snakes, we appreciate the love. We appreciate the agreement on the take. But yeah, it should be a fun fight. We should see some things. I do want to state this to wrap this little segment up. That none of this is gambling advice, okay? You can follow or fade me at your own discretion. Please gamble responsibly and don't bet more than you can afford, okay? Not every bet, that's why we talk in units and not cash flow. It's not, find your own unit system, do what's comfortable for you. It can be a fucking dollar. I used to start out betting at $1 just because I like the thrill of it and the fun of it, and then you work your way up to things where you're more comfortable more and things you know a little bit more about. But yeah, just please gamble responsibly if you are taking any of these. And look, don't be afraid to fade them as well. If you fade them and it hits, feel free to come back in the chat. Let me know. Once all these go, next time we do a Lancelot locks next week for the conference championship, we'll review and see how many we hit. I'm sure if we have a clean sweep, we'll definitely let the people know on the social media sites. But yeah, so for everybody that tuned in, really appreciate y'all. Give me about 5 minutes. Gonna fire up the gaming system. Gonna check in with the other squad members. And we'll get some games going here shortly. All right, be right back.